Okay, guys, welcome to the Fractal Saturday Live. Sorry for my voice. Unfortunately, I am flued for the second time in 1 month. It is incredible, but it is maybe the cooling system that is not very good for my health. So, thank you so much to be here. This Saturday, I would like to share with you how to create a preset for live usage where you can send to the mixer the output of your modeler, okay? But to keep your amplifier on the stage. Yes, because for many guitar player, sometimes it is a problem to have a monitor like FR or in-ear monitor or whatever. And many professional guitar player, I can think about Neil Schon, Def Leppard, and many other. They still use the amplifier on the stage, but on the FOH, on the mixer, they send the direct output of the Fractal unit. Okay? And now I wanted to show you how is possible to do this very easy. Okay, so let's go immediately to share this preset. I've created two presets. One is based on the Fractal amp, okay? And the other one is based on the amp. The amp is behind me, is that one. My incredible custom 50 realized by Massimo Mantovani, M-Tech, who is also the creator of the cabinet. I put the impulse response because for this job it is really important. If you want to give to the mixer the same or very close cabinet of the real cabinet, the perfect should be to have the same impulse responses of the cabinet. In the last tutorial, last Saturday, I show you how it's possible to create the impulse response with the super cabinet of THU software, and that software let me to let's say create the is very similar impulse response of that cabinet. I wanted to show you the cabinet. Maybe is this okay? You can see better. It is a 1x12 cabinet equipped with Jensen speaker. Is a Tornado Special Edition speaker. The cabinet and the loudspeaker are special designed, and I can guarantee you that the sound is really incredible, even if the cabinet is really small and light, because the weight should be around 8 kilo. And a bit more than 8 kilos, so really light. Also, the solo head is really light because it is about 8 kilo too. It's incredible. So let's come back. Let's come back to the editor. So I create the philosophy to create the preset is very similar to my preset with the compressor, the volume, some drive, phaser, modulation effect. The amp, okay, in this case the amp, it is the Euro Red modern. It is an ecstasy amp. I use the blue and red channel of my favorite amp, who is the Bogner Ecstasy. This is a new preset based on this Jensen, and in the upper row, you can see the sound generation, and on the lower row, you can see the ambient effect, and there is some unusual of my preset. The cabinet is the end. Typically, my presets are made like this. I show you the actual version of this preset. Okay, the cabinet now is here, but usually I put the cabinet here. It is absolutely the same, of course. You should remember this structure. It is pretty common on my presets. And but in this preset, you can see a different structure. Let me get just a moment. Okay, the cabinet, it is at the end of the line. This is strange because this could be a problem, because typically the cabinet, it is a mono, and this can affect dramatically the sounds of the ambient effect, especially in the stereophonic feeling. But you can use a trick for this. As you can see, you can create the same structure, the same rig with pitch block, delay, flex delay, reverb. Then I create two output. Output 1 go to the return of the amplifier. Okay. Output 2 is connected to my audio interface. So now you are listening the FM9 as it is. This is the preset. It is still stereo effect. I will show you how is possible. And when I switch this one, as you can see, I switch off the output 2 and I switch on the output 1. Output 1 is connected to the amplifier, the return of the amplifier. So I'm using the amp block as a preamp, okay, and I'm using the my amplifier as the power amp, and this is the sound. Sorry, I have to close this microphone because the amplifier is sounding in the box. Okay, what is the difference? When output 1 is on, what you are hearing now, it is the microphone. You can see on my amp, okay? Microphone is connected to the audio interface, and I put a bit of reverb. So you have only a small stereo image by the reverb, no the rest of the ambient effect. But it is necessary, otherwise the sound is too much dry. But this is what I typically listen on the stage. Okay, and if I want, I can use also the sound of the microphone. But typically, if you have create the right impulse response, you can give to the FOH the exact sound of your amp without the microphone. Now I'm using the microphone to permit to let you listen what is the difference. But in the real case, you don't need the microphone, because you use the amplifier only for your monitor. Okay? If you have question, please put the question in the chat. I will answer as soon as possible. What is really important is to create the stereo cabinet. Otherwise, you lose the stereo effect. Typically, the cabinet, it is mono block. Okay, it is a mono block, and typically I can get, for example, let me check this preset, for example. Okay, as you can see, the standard settings of the cabinet is input mode is left, and you have only one input, one impulse response. Okay, let's come back to this preset. Sorry, no, it's this one. Okay. As you can see here, it is important to use two impulse response, the same one. And and you have to hard pan left and right, the first and the second. The first on the left and the second on the right. You have to create, and it is mandatory to select the stereo input. In this way, you can create the stereo cab block, and you can still have stereo effect. Otherwise, the problem is if you let this left as a default value, you can hear the sound is mono, is really bad. I hope you have the headphone or have the monitor. If you have the headphone, you can hear exactly what is the effect. This is a mono effect, and this is very bad. So you can set it to stereo. So you can use all stereo ambient effects before the cabinet without lose the stereo effect. And of course, at the end of the last ambient block, ambient effect, it is the reverb. You can put the signal to the return of your amp, and on your amp you have your stereo effects. Of course, if you have a single amp, you have a mono effect. Okay, this is clear. If you want to have a if you want to have a stereo effect, you can use, for example, the old stereo power amp we use in the 80-90 on the huge rack. Like the Mesa 219 or Mesa 5050 or Marshall, if I remember well, 9100. Okay, in that time there was there were a lot of power amp for huge rack, and because many guitar players use the huge rack with the preamp and so on and so on. In that case, you can use the stereo power amp and double cabinet. Okay, so on the stage, you have the typical sound of the guitar cabinet, you like it, but to the FOH, you give directly the sound of the Fractal unit to avoid the microphone, to avoid all the problem that microphone creates. Okay, this is the first technique. Now, okay, I can show you what is the difference. This is the sound of the because output 2 is connected, as I told you, on the audio interface. This is the sound of the Fractal unit as it is. I create a scene where I switch off the output 2 and I switch on the output 1. Output 1 comes from put the signal to the return, and now I capture the sound with the SM57. Sorry, I have to close the microphone. This. Okay, of course there is a slight difference between because I don't know exactly how the original input responses was made, because okay, I use the same microphone, the SM57, but I don't know the right position, the right ambient. So in any case, there are some different, but the voice of the sound is pretty similar. Is pretty similar. So I am pretty sure that what I give to the FOH, to the mixer, it is really similar to what I have on the stage. Okay? I hope this is clear. This is one case, I repeat, when you use the amp only like a power amp. So you can use this configuration when you have a stereo amp with the two cabinets or stereo cabinets, or you have a single amp and use the return. The other option is this one. Sorry, is this one. It is different. Now there is no amp block. I use the 4 cables method to use my amp as a main sound generation. Okay. And I use the final output configuration in the similar way of the other presets. What is the difference? The difference is that the first line, this is the effect that I put before the amplifier. Then I go to the output tree. Output tree is connected to the input of the amp. Okay. Then from the send, I get the send signal from the amp, and I put the signal to the input 2. Then I put the ambient effects, okay, reverb, and now the same situation of before. So I have output 2 with the emulation of the cabinet, or output 2 go to the return of the amp, and I can hear the sound of the micro. Of course, I can handle both sound, even from the impulse responses, even for the microphone. We can make a mix. This is I can show you what is the difference. This is the sound of my amp. I can raise up the volume a bit. Okay, it's very nice. And now I switch to the cabinet. Sorry, a string was broken. So I have to change my guitar. Is not a problem because we have a lot of guitar here. I can keep my Gibson, amazing Gibson Murphy Lab Gibson, yeah. Okay, yes. Sorry, I close the microphone because otherwise 2 microphones are capturing the signal. Okay, what's happening if I combine the 2 microphones? I wanted to show you one problem that can occur. Okay, because let me. Okay, if I switch on both output now, we can hear the sound even from the Fractal. I'm using a Fractal FM9, as you can see. From the Fractal FM9 and also from the microphone. But take care what's happened. Okay, the sound is a bit strange. Why? Because there is a phase issue. We have to take care about this because in the process of the signal, maybe and surely there is a block where the signal are converted in terms of phase. So the phase are inverted, and so the output 1 is inverted of output 2. You can fix this issue typically on the audio interface of the mixer by this control. I have this parameter. It is the phase inversion. So I invert the phase of the input 3 where is connect my microphone. So I enable the phase inverter, and I'll let you know what's happened. Okay, in this case, there was not the phase inverter, and when I enable the phase inversion, I created the problem. This depends of the block you have. In any case, using the both output is not really good in the same, because in any case there are some phase issue, because let's say there is a bit delay of the sound from the microphone or from the modeler, maybe for very small milliseconds of latency in the conversion, for example, of the audio interface or whatever. So you can have such a also because I'm going into the plugin to have a reverb. It is cause, for example, 10-20 milliseconds. So for this reason, it's not so convenient to use both output for this use. But what is important is that you can use this configuration for your live use, because on stage it doesn't matter if there is a phase issue. You don't hear typically the sound from the PA. Okay, that's it. I think that I give you all information regarding this. I repeat, you have to use the cabinet at the end of the rig, okay? And one question could happen, for sure. I want to show this question. I can show here, no problem. It is really the same to use the cabinet at the end or at the end of the rig, or just after the amp block. Let's say, let me explain. It's not 100% the same. It is the same when you are in this configuration, okay, where there is only delay and reverb and chorus also. It is not the same when you use some effects like pitch harmonizer or something like this. I wanted to show what's happened. For example, if I enable the Plex, okay, with the Plex is not a problem, but if I okay, it is stereo for sure, but it's not absolutely the same sound I have when the cabinet is before. And I show you immediately. Pay attention. Why this occurs? Because remember, cabinet, it is a very powerful filter. It is a very high frequency filter, close the high frequency. And if you have a delay and reverb, it's not a problem. But, for example, if I select the standard Plex verb, you don't hear a big difference. I can show you. There is a difference, but it's not so high. Okay? In the moment, you use any kind of a pitch shifter or something like this. The cabinet create a attenuation of the high frequency. And this is the reason that I prefer, in any case, to have the cabinet before the ambient effects. Of course, if you do this, you cannot have the configuration with your amplifier on the stage. This for sure. But okay, this is a good compromise. Okay, to have the stereo sounds to the FOH and have the amp on your stage. Perfect. I don't see any questions. I hope this tutorial was interesting for you. So I thank you very much. Thank you, G66. If you have any questions, you can put the question below the video, even on my channel or on the G66 channel. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you soon. Bye.